Subscribe now to join our community.
I've been wanting to share this experience I had for a while now, and have told some on here about it. It was definitely one of my more frightening experiences, as it did not feel nice, or friendly in any way. This happened last fall. As most know from my other submissions on here, I live far out in the country woods, on my family's large property. So the house we live in is literally surrounded with woods, making nighttime very dark whenever there's no moon out. Even as a child I felt fear at night around our woods, but only at night. I could be fine to explore all day in the sun. I know with that said, that could just be easily written off as a normal childhood fear, but even into my adulthood, that was just a feeling I never got over. I still hate to be around our woods lining at night, because of the feelings it gives me. Last fall I was outside one night on our front porch. With the porch light on overhead, I could at least see pretty good around the bottom of the porch area, into some of the front yard. As I stood on the porch in front of the door, that's also where the porch steps are, I started to get this feeling that something was watching me, that I could not see. Side note, I actually get that feeling pretty often, as though I'm never really alone outside. I try to ignore that feeling, since I'm used to getting it while outside at night alone, but that night I just couldn't shake that feeling off. I realized whatever I felt watching me had came from our backyard, and was walking through the side yard, at the far end of the porch, where it's in total darkness. I could feel whatever it was, turning to the front yard, and creeping closer to the front porch steps I was at the top of. Now there's big tall bushes that are in front of our porch, so you can't really see through them at whatever may be on the other side of them, unless it's daylight. By this time, I'm really getting scared, because I know I can feel something getting closer to me, but I can't see it. I'm trying to hurry up and finish my cigarette, while I'm staring where the bushes end near the porch steps, that, like I said, could be seen from the porch light on, when I noticed one of the branches that stuck out from the last bush, near the porch steps, had moved, as if someone or something had just walked by it, and bumped into it. The way it moved was as if someone grazed it while walking by it. I remember thinking how there's no wind blow at all, and nothing made sense to make only that one branch move the way it did, because no other part of the bush had moved. Right after I saw the branch move, I had this loud voice in my head, screaming to run. Run. Get inside now. I could feel whatever it was starting to walk up our porch steps, when I throw my cigarette and run inside, rushing to lock the door, which, unfortunately at that time, was hard to lock without my husband's help. Door was swollen or something at that time, making it tricky to lock it. So as I frantically tried to lock the front door, I had logic kick in, asking me how exactly do I think locking a door is seriously going to keep out whatever is outside that I can't see. Well, that thought scared me, but I did feel safe inside. I hoped whatever was outside was not coming inside. Still unnerved, I was shutting lights off in the house to get ready for bed, since my husband and kids were already asleep. As I'm walking through the living room, I felt that evil presence again, as I looked up and noticed the living room curtain slightly opened, that viewed to the front porch, beside the front door. I could just feel this tall figure standing right outside that window, staring at me. I freaked out and just ran to bed, and as I crawled into bed, wishing my husband was still up, he sat up to go to the bathroom, when I blurt out to him that something just chased me inside, when I was outside smoking. I said I couldn't get the door locked, and asked if he could go lock it for me. My husband gets up, still half asleep, but knows that I'm clearly scared by whatever was outside, and goes to the living room to lock the door. He comes back to bed and tells me that as he was walking up to the door to lock it, he got this weird feeling that something was staring at him through the exact same window that I had felt. I told him how freaky that was. He said that, because I left that part out when I told him what happened to me outside, so for him to feel someone standing on the porch, staring through that window too, made me think it couldn't all be my imagination. This isn't something that constantly happens outside, as I still to this day go outside at night alone to smoke. I'm just confused as to what was different that specific night, as so far it was the only night I ever experienced something like that here to that extreme. I know my family's property before they built on it was nothing but woods, so I'm at a loss as to what could have been on our land. I know since I was a child, I've always been afraid of our woods at night, and have had other experiences outside as well, but still nothing as scary as that night, to the point I had a voice screaming in my head to run inside. I know I wrote about my one experience I had here of something dark that at one time I felt lived inside our house, but like I said in that submission, it left with my neighbor, and I haven't felt it here since then. So I don't really believe it's the same thing, and wonder where it went after leaving that night, as well as why it didn't come inside. Like I said, I highly doubt locking a door will keep spirits or whatever from coming in. Now, after reading some of the members' submissions on here, that have spoke about having a guardian looking over them, it has made me wonder the possibility of me having a guardian. Like perhaps my dad, who I've felt around me here since I was little, that had passed away before I was born. Maybe he watches over me, and keeps me safe. All I know is whatever it was that night, did not feel nice or friendly in any way, and sent fear through me. Yet once inside my house, it seemed as though it was unable to make entry, as it just stood on the porch, watching me through the living room window. Not sure if this is related, and it's probably not, but I still want to add it as the timing was the same. But like I mentioned to some others on here last fall, back at the end of September, and the end of October, both times being around a full moon. Not sure how important that detail is. Just something I noticed. I kept getting this very odd little scratch on the back of my hand, near the bottom side of my thumb. It honestly looked as though a tiny kitten had scratched me right there, and no, I do not own any kittens or cats. Both times they appeared for no reason, in the exact same spot, both looking like a tiny kitten scratched me. Whenever I would notice I had the scratches, I would feel this burning sensation where it would appear like something just burned me. The last one appeared after 5 in the morning, while I was waiting in our car for my youngest son's school bus to arrive that morning. I was sitting in the dark of our car, as the sun still hasn't risen yet, when I started to feel something burn my thumb area. I turned on the overhead light, and slowly started to see that tiny little kitten-looking scratch appear in the exact same spot it did the previous month. I thought it was too random to have the exact same looking scratch I had the previous month that I just accepted as one of those scratches you didn't realize you got from whatever did it, in the exact same spot it was before. I could even see where I had a little bit of scarring from the first one, as the new one was on top of it. Now, I was going to see if it happened a third time, thinking I figured out when I seemed to get it, coming up with somewhat of a theory, but it never happened again after that. So I'm at a loss as to what exactly that was, but thought it odd to happen around the same time I experienced whatever came up onto our porch that night. Hopefully one of y'all can think of why this could have happened when it did, versus it not being something that generally happens to that extent. As far as asking if I was going through a bad or hard time at that time, I'd say nothing out the normal. If any year was recently a hard one, I'd say the fall of 2017 was the worst time for me, as I just lost my mama that past June of that year. Thank you in advance to any helpful suggestions as to what I may have experienced that night.
Join our community. Subscribe for engaging content, like to show support, comment to share your thoughts, and share to spread the love. Let's connect and grow together.